This is the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com, hosted by Jerry and Mark, your one-stop shop for all horrible movie reviews. From the latest blockbusters and independent films to classics, let Mark and Jerry convince you the world is a dangerous place, though often good for a laugh. Now come and listen to the Horror Movie Show, if you dare.
Howdy, folks. Jerry here.
And Mark.
Bringing you another episode of the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com and The Crypt and iTunes. How are you?
I'm fine. How about yourself?
No, I was talking to the listener.
Why are you looking at me then?
Just to devil you.
You know, it's so difficult to start these shows because, you know, we've done 140 odd shows.
This will be 144.
And we're trying to be clever about the way we start. You know, it's like it's kind of boring. You got to tell where we're available.
Yeah.
You know, and then how do you get into the show? You know, have you been doing anything this week?
No,
nothing.
No, nothing. I went with Amazing Teresa to take our dog Hallie to dog show.
Yes. Well, that's just going to bore all of our audience.
I don't know. There's a lot of people like dogs better than humans.
Nobody should like dogs.
Ugh.
Although they are proof that evolution exists.
You've got a teenage son, and you can talk about how nobody likes dogs.
And you hear me talking about them?
Oh, I know, because the only thing more hideous than a bad dog is a teenage boy.
I can say that we're going to go for his learners.
We're not allowed to talk about teenage girls, not after the incident.
Oh, well, no, that would be a bad thing.
Yeah.
We'll keep that to ourselves.
Yeah, indeed. So we got a whole slew of movies to talk about this week.
Gee, don't sound exciting or anything.
Oh,
These are great movies.
Big
blockbuster movies.
Starting with a couple of blockbusters. I got a real bad back, so, you know, I'm looking for
You're
sympathy.
just an old crotchety old man.
I am a crotchety cracker.
It's because all that crack that you...
Yeah, shh. That and the girls, I tell you.
They'll tell you every time.
So we're going to start by talking about a movie which is not exactly horror, but what the hell. 300, Rise of an Empire. This is a brand new movie, 2014. Mm-hmm. Directed by Noam Murrow. Written by Zack Snyder. He's a busy guy, Zack. Zack Snyder, Kurt Johnstad, based on the graphic novel Xerxes by the humorous Frank Miller, Mr. Light and Airy. Now, I only wrote down a couple of names because most of these guys all look the same anyway. You know, he basically get in as a Greek soldier in these 300 movies if you've got a
six-pack.
a rippling six-pack. Yeah.
Well, they had bodybuilders come in and train them.
I'm so happy.
That must have been really tough, though. It's like 6 months before shooting.
A lot of people said of the first movie, the first 300. It's a big gay fest. And this movie, a little less so because there's a couple of female characters.
And some of them have clothes on.
Yeah, but oh my goodness, it's just, Beefcake City. It just kind of grosses me out.
Well, I'm sure that's why the women come.
Yeah, that and the blood, the non-stop blood.
Yeah, that's why the men come.
So, you get Sullivan Stapleton, an actor I've never heard of. He's the main character. He plays Themistocles. Eva Green plays one of his enemies, Artemisia. And Lena Headey, reprising her role as the musically named Queen Gorgo. Isn't Gorgo? It's not a character on Futurama?
Could be, yes.
Gorgo, he's the newsreader.
That's right.
Yeah. So, this story is sort of taking place just...
Well, the way they say it's both a prequel and a sequel.
Yeah.
Because some of the beginning of the movie takes place before the movie.
Before the original movie.
300, and then 300 happens, and then there's some repercussions from that.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's the same invading Persian force of Xerxes.
Yeah.
And he's like the living
embodiment
god in
and they do
form.
go a bit into his background and how he becomes the living god.
Who cares?
Oh, didn't you like him going into that pool and coming out 5 feet taller?
I thought this movie was so absolutely unnecessary. I didn't like it anywhere near as much as the original because it is so like the original.
Yes. And sequels can fall into that trap.
Oh, they sure did here.
Again, shot all on green screen.
Right.
And really doesn't add much to the legend or storyline or anything like that. I would have liked to have seen more of a sequel to the original story. Instead of, these are about the Athenians.
Well, this is the Greeks as opposed to the Spartans.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Spartans were one city-state, and this guy, Themistocles, is trying to get all the Greeks to fight against Xerxes and the Persians.
And the Spartans don't want to join them.
They say they won't, but they do eventually, of course, because you just can't keep a good Spartan down.
Exactly.
They invented the apple, you know.
Oh, did they?
The Spartans? Well, the Spartan apple, yeah.
Yeah. And
people don't realize that.
Who did the Gala apple, though?
Well, that was a big premium. Yeah. To me, it doesn't look as good as the first movie, perhaps just because the first movie seemed new and fresh. But they both look like comic books. They both look like rather monotone.
And that was done on purpose in the first movie.
Yeah.
But after a while, you get,
been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This movie, it's basically the same as the first in that there's a big battle. Of course, the Athenians kind of like trick the Persians, who are
Greeks. They're Greeks. They're not just from Athens. They're Greeks.
Well, yeah.
It's like the whole country.
But they're being led by the Athenians.
Themistocles. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is that they have a small fleet with small boats, and the Persians have these huge, big boats that are like 3 times larger than the Greek. Yet the Greek, in their first scrimmage, they take advantage of the size, small thing, and their ability to move their ships.
Yes, the
better.
speed. Yes, which is often the case.
And then
it's a difference between a jet fighter and a bomber.
And then they have a second scrimmage, and again they beat them by using the surroundings, the fog and all this stuff.
It's their native country.
Yes,
so of course they've got an advantage.
And of course there has to be a battle where they're going to get pulverized. So it's like the first movie, whereas they have these continuing waves of things coming in, and they're defeating them. The smaller forces are defeating the bigger forces, but ultimately the bigger force is going to win because they are just massive.
Yeah, they just keep hammering. You know the worst thing about this movie?
What?
Well, they haven't killed Xerxes by the end, so there's going to be a third one. Pointless third one, unless somebody invents ray guns or something. I really don't see why I would want to watch a third movie. It's just exactly the same as the first one, and without any of the surprises, without any of the unique look of the first one, it's just redone. It's just absolutely redone.
Well, the only difference is that now they're fighting on water mostly.
In the second one,
instead of being on dry land.
Yeah.
They have.
Now, in the first one, though, wasn't there a big storm that takes out the
when they first arrive
fleet?
When they first arrive on the coast, there's a huge storm, but then they figure, God is on
our side,
and cleaned up the Persians.
So what the hell? Where's all these other ships coming? If their fleet was destroyed in the first movie, what's this? A second fleet? And,
no.
It is the same fleet because Xerxes is in both battles.
Right.
What the hell? So while Xerxes is involved with the Spartans, his little girlfriend there,
Eva Green,
is off battling the rest of the Greeks.
Yes.
That's the idea.
Yeah, that's right.
And the battles are happening at the same time.
And then when he defeats the 300, he comes up and joins the other side.
Right. Okay.
So I guess they had 2 fleets.
Well, she's supposed to be commanding the fleet.
Yes.
So I don't know what fleet Xerxes had. I mean, it isn't logically set up to me. I found that confusing because a lot of the stuff that's in the first movie seems to be ignored or contradicted in the second one.
Well, I wouldn't say a lot. Just the
entire fleet, for one thing.
Well, no, I think they rationalize it somehow. We just didn't catch it.
It's my fault.
I think
my fault as a careless viewer.
Exactly.
Not the fault of the filmmakers.
You didn't watch the other one just before you watch the second one, so you're fresh in your mind.
No, but I have
seen
it a couple of times. I do remember it well, and I quite liked it. Although I do understand The people
you
who said
just like Gerard Butler, that's all.
Well, yeah, much better actors. There's no name actors in the second one.
No, not really. And they did that on purpose because they had some name actors that were going to play the lead Athenian general.
Right, Themistocles.
They were going to have somebody there, but then they decided to go against it because Gerard Butler, believe it or not, was not a lead actor at the time he did 300. That shot him into stardom.
Yeah, it was.
So they wanted to do the same thing for this next guy.
I'll tell you, this Sullivan Stapleton, what a crazy name he's got.
And they did want Gerard Butler to be in this movie.
Right.
But he turned them down because he said it wasn't his thing.
Well, Lena Headey is in both movies, and also the guy in 300 who gets his eye put out.
Yeah, and minor part.
Oh, and the Hunchback. The
Hunchback has a
small role.
In a small role again. I mean, he's like in a side role.
Yeah.
You know, he pops up every once in a while and then he disappears.
Yeah.
Because at the end of 300.
Right.
They talk about the legend of the battle and him going back and telling the story.
Yes, yeah.
And
mobilizing the rest of
And the next time Persia shows up, they've got all of Greece behind them.
Well, Persia is still there.
No.
It's a matter of getting the rest of the Greeks to now come and follow along.
I thought he went away after the defeating the 300 because he was the Persian
cut
god.
on his cheek.
And so I thought that they retreated and they came back later and then they were met by this huge force of Greece.
Well, maybe, but the whole thing is just so badly put together. It really it isn't logically set out.
For a green screen thing, it still cost them $110 million.
Yeah.
So this motion capture stuff is obviously not cheap.
And it's also very, very annoying that every single battle scene, and I don't mean like the 10-minute scene itself, I mean like every shot, they have to slow it down so you can see the arrows piercing the bodies, you can see the sword slashing the throats open so the blood spews. It's like a Monty Python sketch, you know, it's like a parody of a bloody scene from Sam Peckinpah's movies.
Yeah.
It's just, so over that.
Yeah, I know. Speeding up and slowing down.
Yeah.
Because some scenes are sped up.
Yeah.
And other ones are slowed down. And
it just seems childish.
And all the gore.
Yeah.
There's just so much blood and people getting their limbs chopped off and their heads chopped off. And
it's very like Salad Days by Monty Python, you know. I say, Nigel, catch, you know, and the tennis ball makes him spew blood from his forehead, and
it is very gory.
Gory and just not very good. Go, watch the original again. Save your money. 47 Ronin is the next movie, another big budget movie.
175 million. What the hell did they spend 175 million on?
Yeah.
Oh,
Keanu Reeves hairdo.
That's borderline insane.
It is. It's crazy what they spend, and I bet it didn't make its money back.
No, nowhere near.
No. They couldn't have. It was not a successful
movie. It was a
movie.
very...
Not over here. And from what I understand, it wasn't even a success in Japan.
Really?
Yeah, I've read that.
I read a little bit of background, and Keanu basically said that when they were doing their scenes, they would do it in Japanese first, so that all the extras knew what was happening, and and I'm sure they filmed it in Japanese as well as English.
Right.
They didn't have to translate or anything,
or dub,
anything.
And everybody but
and as
Keanu
far as I'm concerned,
Japanese.
They should have dubbed in all the English voices, because I found it very distracting.
That some have Japanese accents. And some
these
don't.
Japanese characters, these Japanese actors trying to do English poorly was worse than if it was just subtitled to me.
Yeah, but you have to.
And if they're good at
audiences here are lazy and won't go see a
if they were
subtitled
going
movie.
to have it in English, they should have dubbed it in with proper English speaking people. They could have easily done that.
I didn't have a problem with that. I understood everybody perfectly well.
No, I just found it frustrating in that this is supposed to be Japanese they're speaking, and they're doing a poor job at speaking English. And it just to me,
What do you mean a poor job? I don't understand. They spoke English perfectly well.
No, it wasn't
accents, but that's
very thick accents, and some of it was, the acting I think suffered because they were doing English.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I do.
I think the acting suffered because it's kind of a stupid movie. Keanu Reeves does his usual wooden performance. You know,
Yeah.
he plays Kai, and he might as well be called Neo.
Yeah.
Same goddamn character he's been playing since Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, that's true. He
is such a one-note actor.
Yeah, he is so wooden.
I mean, I like a lot of his movies. I love the 3 Matrix movies. I like all 3 of them. But, whoa, you know, that's the extent of his acting ability.
Yeah,
whoa.
If he was the only guy in the movies, that we wouldn't have liked him.
No.
That he wasn't always the major character.
No.
So he had a good supporting cast.
So this movie could technically be considered horror because there's a lot of witchcraft, some sort of Japanese version of witchcraft.
She's a dragon.
Rinko Kikuchi plays the witch, and yes, whether the witch is a drag, that's the idea by the end, that Keanu says, "I know what you are, and I'm not afraid." Yeah, if she's a dragon, a magical dragon, whatever. But in any case, she's a shapeshifter, and sometimes she's a human woman with one brown eye and one blue eye, and sometimes she's She's a fox.
Foxy lady.
Yes, she's very foxy. and she's so much cuter than the leading lady. I was a little surprised by that. I thought that the witch was definitely hotter.
Which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
Because, you want the...
I was getting so annoyed. There's just something about the bowing and the scraping and the...
the whole Japanese honor thing.
Oh, it drives me crazy.
What was wrong with these people?
I know. It's like,
excuse me, there's only one thing I can do, and that is kill myself. Well, why? Well, the toast was burned.
Yeah.
So I will gut myself in front of you because that is the debt I owe you.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
I just love that whole thing.
Well, we'll watch that. And everybody always sits around and watches.
Yeah.
The woman's dearest love is about to gut himself, and one tear spills down her cheek as she looks on with virtually no other emotion. It's sick. It seems sick to me.
But that's the way it was.
Oh, it was not. It was never like that.
It wasn't? Is that just like romanticized? Is that romanticized?
Oh, I think probably, if somebody actually felt obliged to kill themselves, there probably would have been a lot more screaming and yelling once you jammed the knife into your guts.
Oh, but that's part of the ritual, is showing no pain.
Yeah.
And then, they have that guy sitting there next to you in case you can't complete your ritual.
Oh, no.
Chop off your head.
Yeah, no. The head chopping was done by your friend, your
second.
your pal. But that was always done. After you'd cut up your guts, then your head would come off. They'd finish you off quickly. That was the idea. It wasn't like you bled to death, you flopped over with your guts cut up. No, you hurt yourself, gave yourself a mortal wound, and then you were finished off. Like there was some mercy shown. But, what a horrible, horrible ritual. And this notion that, all right, nothing we can do but kill ourselves, and at the end, there's like dozens and dozens of very brave men who have done the right
47.
thing. Who all have, they weren't all alive at that point, but there's dozens of them. And they all have to kill themselves, and the Shogun, the big boss, is there, and he says, "Wait!" And he saves one guy's son so that his bloodline won't die out. And then he goes, "All right, carry on," and everybody guts themselves.
What a nice Shogun.
Oh, it's a horrible, horrible idea.
Now, again, this is one of those movies where the studio got involved.
Oh, no doubt.
First of all, they radically re-edited in post-production.
Right.
I mean, it must be really sad if you're a director and you have a vision of where you want this to go, or a writer for that matter.
Sure.
And then you film it. And
your movie is gutted?
And basically. They basically changed the whole movie.
Seppuku on your movie.
So I'm sure that there was probably more ritual, more Japanese custom, it was probably a longer movie.
Right.
Before the studios
this felt long enough, hey? 2 hours.
Before the studios got a hold of it and just massacred it. So I can't blame the actors.
Right. Or even the director necessarily.
Yeah, necessarily. Yeah. Because when you hear horror stories like they chopped out 50 minutes of your movie.
Right.
And it's like, that's not your movie anymore.
No.
That's somebody else's movie.
Yeah.
sometimes they're wrong.
Have you ever seen the studio version of Brazil?
Yes.
That is hilarious. It's got a happy ending.
Yeah.
Holy moly, a happy ending on Brazil.
Yeah.
That's, I watched it late night TV, and as I'm watching it, I'm thinking...
They still have that?
I've got a copy of it.
No, I've got a copy as well, but I'm shocked that they actually still broadcast the happy version.
Yeah, they did once, and I'm pretty sure that the local channel showing it, running it late night, didn't realize that what they bought, rented, whatever, was the studio cut.
Yeah.
Because that's a curiosity. That is not the movie Brazil. The movie Brazil is the version that Terry Gilliam put his name on. The bowdlerized version that the studio put out is ridiculous. I mean, it completely and utterly defeats the purpose and the point of Gilliam's vision.
Mm-hmm.
I was glad to have seen it, but by the end of it, I was like, what the hell is this? Have I gone insane?
It's all those drugs.
Yeah, really. Somebody's slipping me drugs and I don't even know it. Boy, it was weird.
Okay,
so,
honestly, with this movie, I thought
it's 47 Ronin.
Yeah, it looked good. I can't say the acting was great, but it didn't bother me so much.
Right.
I just thought the storyline was way too linear and simple, and there wasn't enough emotion in it, and it was silly of all this honor stuff.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they castrated the thing in editing.
Right.
Maybe it was a better movie. And I also watched it in 3D, and it looks wonderful in 3D. It looks beautiful in 3D. So
I'll tell you on my list of top 10 ways I would judge a movie.
Yeah.
How it looks in 3D would be number 10.
Well, yeah.
Way down on the list.
I'm just saying that having
it looks good.
Having seen it in 3D, and that was one of the things that they're really selling with the trailers and all that.
Right.
They showed all the best parts of the movie.
Yeah. The dragon. And all that.
They just showed everything in the trailer. There wasn't anything
Keanu
missed.
fighting the giant ogre and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There are some nice monsters in it.
Yeah, there were.
Yeah.
That whole scene with the ogre was fine.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. In fact, that could have been longer.
Yeah.
But it's the other thing I notice about this movie, and it's similar to 300 in that way, but 47 Ronin really felt as if everything in between the battles was unimportant. And they get through explaining what's going on and into the next battle. And it's just almost non-stop action. Yeah. But that also means that the story, by necessity, has to be very, very simple.
Yes.
Because there isn't any acting. It's battling.
I got to admit, some of those battle sequences are wonderful.
Oh, tremendous.
Yeah. I mean, Keanu looks like he knows how to handle a blade.
But imagine the original Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
If it had been nothing but space battles.
Yes.
It would not be the lovely, fun thing. Those characters would not be the loved characters that they are today.
It's the comedy that movie.
Yeah. But also, I mean, it showed us Han Solo, Luke, Leia, Chewie, the robots. It showed us those characters and made us care about them in the first movie so that we wanted to see 2 and 3.
Yeah.
This movie, if they put out a sequel, it's like, really? Why?
This 47 Ronin is an old story, and it's been remade.
Is it really, or is that just what they're saying at the beginning? It is a legend?
Oh, yeah. It is definitely a legend, and it's been made into movies about a dozen times.
Oh, okay.
So, and this is the first Hollywood movie.
Okay, right.
But I still don't see where the $175 million went. I just don't see it.
Japanese costumes? Yeah, it's hard to believe.
I know that Chinese and the Japanese are really heavily into battling and the 3D.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of 3D Chinese movies, and they look beautiful. But I can't see them all costing $175 million.
No, I was flashing on Crouching Tiger, Pooping Dragon while I was watching this, and I just couldn't see that it wasn't even as good as that one, and I didn't much care for that one. These movies that are all about martial arts battling, it leaves me cold. As cold as 300 Rise of an Empire.
Crouching Tiger, it was more of doing all these aerial flips and all this stuff, and that wasn't so prominent in this.
The humans in this one are a little less fantastical.
Yes, but they did have skills with the blade.
Oh, ridiculous skills, yeah.
I enjoyed those sequences. There's nothing wrong with them.
But that's
the big fault in here. The big fault here is that the storyline is just way too simplistic and silly.
Yeah, you just don't give a damn about any of them.
And I'm sure it is. It's based on legend, but give it some grit.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves, the half-breed who's like a foundling at the beginning. He's running away, and then you discover that, in fact, he's been trained in
by demons,
dark magic, and
and it's like that whole aspect I could have seen more of. Give me more of that. But
at the beginning of the movie, he's like a nice guy, and then he's taken away. Once the Lord
is so humble. People treat him like crap through his whole life. And he's just turning the other cheek, turning the other cheek. Yeah. I'm getting sick of that.
It gets a little tougher halfway through the movie, but then he's just sort of surly and uncooperative. It's not as if this character is grown; he's just grumpy.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave both of those and get on to a movie that I really liked. Dark House, also known as Haunted. This is a brand new movie directed by Victor Salva, written by Salva and Charles Agron, who has a small part in the movie. Stars Luke Kleintank as Nick DeSanto, Alex McKenna as Eve, Anthony Ray Perez as Ryan, Zach Ward as Chris, Lacey Anzelk as Lilith, Ethan S. Smith as Sam, Leslie Ann Down as Lillian, that is the main character's mum. Tobin Bell plays Seth, he's best known as Jigsaw. And Max Gale plays Scott. Max Gale being the
Barney Miller,
the meathead Polish detective from Barney Miller. Yeah. I haven't seen hide nor hair of him pretty much since Barney Miller, and in this he has like
a bit part,
3 minutes, and then he's gone again.
Yeah, I was surprised to see him.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
It's nice to know he's still around.
He is,
and still acting.
Yeah. Leslie Ann Down, of course, she's middle-aged now, but what a beauty she's still beautiful, but what a beauty she was when she was a young woman.
What was she in?
Just gorgeous. The Great Train Robbery with
that far back.
Sean Connery. Yeah, so what's that?
The 60s?
Late 70s.
Was it?
Late 70s, yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful English actress. This movie, Dark House, also known as Haunted.
What? Let's stop there. Why do you think they have two names for it? Two different audiences?
Haunted was the original title. That was the shooting title. But it's being released as Dark House.
Okay.
That's all.
Because sometimes they change the name in mid-stride. They'll play it in a certain country under this name and a different name in a different country.
Well, some names just don't translate.
Well, that's true as well.
Yeah, or they... This has happened in many movies and books and so on. You translate the title from English or another language into another language, and it turns out that it's like a horrible, filthy pun or embarrassment. It's something that the native speakers know. But
if they would have named it Haunted, it would have been like so many other movies. It would be you wouldn't even think about it. But Dark House is memorable.
It sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds much better.
This movie is about this young man, Nick DeSanto, played by Luke Kleintank, and he's just a normal kid, awful intense. He's got a real intense look to him.
Well, he's got this curse on him.
Yes. Yeah.
So when he touches somebody, and not all the time,
and not everybody, but if the person he's touching will have a violent death, he sees that violent death and he has a great shock. But he gets upset with him because, of course, what the hell's going to happen to me? And he won't tell. He won't tell.
Yeah,
anybody.
And plus the fact if you don't know what's happened, it looks like he's had some sort of electronic shock.
Yeah.
And he's had some sort of...
Oh, they really just ripped that right off from Stephen King's story.
The Dead Zone.
Dead Zone, yes.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
Very, very much that sudden electric shock of recognition. We meet him, we meet his friends, we are with that group the night that Nick meets his girlfriend, Eve, played by Alex McKenna, and then the movie skips forward
to his mom's death.
Yeah, that's right. He's been to see his mom, and his mom was told by a voice in the wall to tell him about his father, and she fails to do that, and so bad things happen to her.
Yeah.
And it turns out that, and this is the funny thing. She summoned him for the first time in 10 years. Since he was an 8-year-old boy, she summoned him to come and hear some information that she's supposed to impart to him. And he refuses to listen to her crazy ramblings, even though he's got this magical power.
Yeah.
He refuses to believe in the supernatural, even though he's got magical powers, and she's going to tell him about his father and why he has these magical powers. But Nick says, "You're crazy," and runs away like a stupid little boy. And, that... I kind of like this movie overall. It's got a lot of good things going for it, but it's also got some real stupidity.
Yes.
And this is one of the stupid things about it. For Pete's sake, Nick, let the woman tell you what she's got to tell you. And so he runs away. He doesn't learn stuff that he should know. And he causes the mother's death because the bad evil spirit kills her because she didn't do what she was told to do.
And it seems the evil spirit communicates through heating registers.
It literally is inside the walls. Yeah. So, listen, you didn't do what I told you to do, so I'm going to turn the heat up, and you're going to bake. And that is exactly what happens to the mom, only much quicker.
Yes.
But, it's just, there's so many silly things that happen in this movie. For Pete's sake, boy, you've got magic powers. Let your mom explain why you've got magic powers.
Anyway, his mom dies, and suddenly a lawyer shows up.
Yes.
Some months later, and gives him the deed to a house.
To the family house, or at least that's what he's told he's going to get. So him and his girlfriend, very pregnant, 8 months pregnant, and his buddy Ryan, played by Anthony Ray Perez. The three of them get in the car and they
go off road trip.
Wander off to, is it Georgia?
I don't know where it is.
Georgia, Mississippi, some flat Southern American
area
state. And the house is gone. The house was in the floodplain, and a huge flood came along, and the house was destroyed. But was it? No, in fact, the whole house was just moved.
They find this little town. They find this little town, and they find the history of what happened to the house.
Yes, in a cafe.
Which is where you go for history. And of course, there's pictures of his house in the cafe.
Yeah.
And everyone's not too happy about the house, yet they prominently display it everywhere.
They got a picture of it.
Yeah, it's like they don't like this house. They said it was cursed, that it was the reason this flood happened.
Yes.
And everybody, the whole town was wiped out, yet here's a picture on our wall.
Yeah. Well, there may be a reason for that, of course. It's not explained well, but eventually you begin to understand what's going on. And Tobin Bell does a good job. He's a shady, mysterious, possibly magical character. And you think that he's like the cause of all the grief, that he's the bad guy. And it turns out that his character, without giving it away, his character may be more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like Tobin Bell. I've been a fan of his since before I'd seen any of the Saw movies, because he plays a character in Seinfeld, which was very, very good.
You love everybody who's acted in Seinfeld.
That show was on for so long, everybody was in Seinfeld.
I wasn't.
No. You think about all the,
I could have been, though.
All the young actresses that showed up on one or two
I was
episodes.
in MacGyver.
Oh, that's great.
What happens is they find out the house is gone. So and they also learn that a road crew had come through this same cafe and was asking about the house as well.
They were still working there.
Anyway, so they
just run into the road crew.
They want to find at least where the plot of land where the house was. So they run into this road crew that's doing some sort of surveying.
Yeah, they're surveyors.
And there's one girl and two guys in the road crew. And they learn from them that the house may be intact because there is this mystery story about the house actually floating along with the flood.
Well, they just got pushed.
And being pushed along with the flood and ending up somewhere else intact.
Yeah.
So they're going, well, the chances of that are pretty slim, because if it's off its foundation, chances are it broke up.
Yeah.
They go off with this road crew, and they said, well, we did see something.
Road crew says, you might be interested.
We found something
yesterday.
And so they follow the road crew, a couple of the guys, they go with the guys, and the girl stays with the pregnant girlfriend in the car.
Yeah.
They go off and they find a window
that's
partially buried in the muck. And they say, well, here's a window. Maybe the house is further along the trail. So they go further along the trail, and lo and behold, they find it.
The whole house.
The whole house is there.
And it's in pretty good shape.
And there doesn't seem to be a window missing.
It's been stopped by this gigantic tree. And when Nick touches the tree, it was a hanging tree, and he, somehow or other, he can feel the spirits of all the people who were hanged on this tree.
Yeah, he sees a vision of about 5 people hanging from the tree.
Well, even before he touches the tree, he can just see them hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good thing he didn't listen to his mom.
No.
Jerk.
And there are some great effects in this thing, especially with things in the wall.
Yes, yeah.
Running around. And there is some sort of cellar, which how can there be a cellar if the thing was washed away?
Yeah, buried cellar. Yeah. Where's the basement, Yeah.
Anyway.
So the scene that I really enjoyed is the thing in the wall, and at one point they're blasting at it with was it a shotgun?
No, I don't think so. I think it was a shovel or a ball-peen hammer or something like that.
Sledgehammer?
Yeah.
It's a sledgehammer.
Yeah,
and so they hear this monster in the wall, and they're still thinking maybe it's raccoons or rats.
And they're trying to look through the heating ducts to see what's behind the wall, and they keep going back and forth.
So anyway, the pal... Nick's pal smashes...
It ends up behind a tapestry on the wall.
Yes.
And there's this bump that suddenly appears.
Nick's pal smashes at it with the hammer, and the next time that the monster is seen, it's got a big wound on its head.
Well, it's his mother.
And it screams... Yeah, that's right. It screams at them, don't hit me with that hammer again.
Yeah, that was funny.
It was funny.
And then there's these sort of zombies hanging around running around with, was it shovels? Axes.
Yeah. Oh, I love them.
Those guys were great.
Good, yeah.
And there's lots of them.
Yeah, and the Tobin Bell character is in charge of them.
Yes.
And they live in the basement of this house, and when they're summoned by Tobin, they come out, and they appear to be demons, and they have a rule where they can't run like normal things. They have to keep the head of the axe on the ground while they hold the end of the handle up higher. So they're sort of half bent over, and they run sideways in a sort of weird lope.
Yeah.
But they're relentless, and they can throw those axes. If you're too far away, they throw the axes at the van at one point, and it's really burying itself deep through the.
It comes through the other side. Same with some of the walls. And doors, the axes come through quite nicely.
But they also, like Tobin Bell's character, they are more complicated than they at first appear.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's worth seeing. Don't want to give it away. But boy, it's got its problems too. Just a lot more effort would have made this a great movie.
Yeah.
As it is, it's a hoot. But boy, is it ever silly.
That's the thing, is that the writing could have been a little bit more better.
Yeah.
And you never know how these movies come together, though. They might have been shooting at different times or something like that. And or the editing, they had to cut out some scenes because it didn't edit together right, or something like that.
Something didn't work.
Anyway, you end up with partial things disappearing that make the storyline a little bit holy.
That's right. Yeah.
Holy is a good word for it.
Okay, I think we're going to do one more movie and call it quits for this episode. We're going to talk about Camp Dread.
Camp Dread, called
Dead TV.
That's how I found it. If you do a search on Dead TV.
Yeah. It's written and directed by Harrison Smith. Stars Kyle Patrick Brennan as Jerry. Great name. This is a winner right off the bat when there's a character named Jerry.
There's a lot more characters named Mark in these.
Oh, yes, but those are bad movies. Ashley Kaspermeyer plays New Sarah. Nicole Sinaglia plays Adrian. I'm not sure how to pronounce this name. Nomi Gray, it could also be Ganomi Gray, plays Missy. Danielle Harris from the remake of Halloween. She plays Sheriff Donlin and is on screen literally 5 minutes. And the star of the movie is Eric Roberts playing Julian Barrett. He'd made some of my favorite movies, specifically Runaway Train, but he hasn't made good movies in a while. Although he was in the second Christian Slater Batman movie.
Was he?
Yeah. He's the guy running.
Oh, right.
Running the meeting of the.
That's right. That's right.
Criminal
he was.
masterminds.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So he's been in good movies too, but his heyday was definitely early in the 80s when he made.
When he was younger.
The Pope of Greenwich Village and Star 80 and the magnificent Runaway Train with Jon Voight. And I love that movie.
I can't say I've ever seen that movie.
Oh my goodness, you got to see that, and then we'll talk about it because it could be taken as horror. It's like a unnatural disaster horror movie.
In this movie, though.
Oh yeah, this is not a great movie.
Let's say he's seen better days.
Yeah. So the idea is Eric Roberts is playing a TV producer who had a movie producer who had a string of movies, 3 or 4 in a row.
Called Summer Camp.
And he got booted from the franchise when he was all set to make the 4th movie, and his female star turned on him, and
wasn't he into drugs or something like that, or they booted him off for some reason that?
Whatever the reasons were, they got rid of him, and his career went into the dumper. Now he's got a chance to make a comeback, and he's going to make more movies, but he's testing the waters by doing a reality show which is based on the slasher movies that he used to make. It's very, very complicated.
It makes
needlessly complicated.
It makes no sense whatsoever.
It doesn't. So
I like the fact that they get these kids that are problem kids.
Yeah.
They think they're going in for some sort of therapy, but instead they send them off to this camp and they say, "Surprise! You're in a reality show."
Reality show, horror reality show.
So half of them are going, "Well, no, wait a minute. I need therapy. Yeah. This is why I'm here, not for a reality show. Yeah. But you can win $1 million. Right. Last man standing.
Survivor wins $1 million.
Now, they don't really explain how. They say, one person's a murderer, and you gotta. I don't know how you survive.
Yeah. No.
If there's one person's a murderer, you don't know who it is. And I like the fact that he says, "Well, how do you know if you're dead?" And the girl says, "Oh, you'll know when you're dead."
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's when the axe has impaled your.
Yeah. When all life function has ceased, you're dead.
You're dead.
Yeah.
Oh man, was this ever a really poorly made movie?
It's very bad. I'm sorry to say. I wanted to like it. I'm hoping to interview Eric Roberts in the near future, but it's not a very good movie.
It made no sense whatsoever.
No.
And kids are dying left, right, and center, and it's like there's no apparent to the game. If this is supposed to be a reality show. Yeah. It's like, what was the rules?
Yeah.
They just seem to be getting slaughtered.
Yeah.
And nobody, none of the people.
But again, Mark, I don't want to give it away, but that is explained at the end.
Well, yes. It
is explained.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is through the whole movie, it just doesn't make sense.
We're told.
And at the very end, they try to rationalize it all.
No, they do. I understand the reason that these kids are being killed.
Well, no,
there is an explanation, but that's hidden from us. And there's only 2 people, and that's the 2 name actors, Danielle Harris and Eric Roberts. They're the only 2 in on it.
To me, it was just a silly movie I did like the ending, actually. I thought the ending was the only good thing about it.
Yeah.
That was the only good thing about it. Everything else, just, when you're watching it, nothing makes sense.
It's just
to
annoying.
Me, exactly. Very annoying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And it's like, you can't do that. There's got to be some sort of rationale to the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And not just throw something at the very end.
No. Oh, no. That's such a cheap cop-out to change the rules entirely at the end and just expect us to go, oh, clever. No, there wasn't anything clever about it. What would have been clever is to start with a decent script.
Yeah.
There were, even among the kids, these are kids who are at least 30 years old, I'd say.
Yeah.
But among these troubled youths, there were a couple of decent actors, good young would-be actors. Unfortunately, like so many young actors, their first big role is in a horror movie and entirely forgettable. I hope they made enough money to go and get a stage job and do some real acting.
So, and the thing is that they bring in this guy who's supposed to work in the control room,
right,
videotaping everybody,
right.
And he leaves at the very beginning.
Yeah.
What the hell was the point of even bringing him in?
Well, because he said that he wanted to say to the Eric Roberts character to his face that he would have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and what happens to him?
Oh, yeah. Well.
It's like, what was the point of that?
I know.
It's like, okay.
You get the idea that Eric's character is just kind of a
vindictive
swine.
Asshole that was getting back at all the crew.
I wasn't going to say it quite that crudely, but yes, I agree with you, Mark. All right, let's wrap it up. So, 300 Rise of an Empire, the first one is way better.
Superior, but I found it entertaining anyway.
Yeah, it's brainless.
It's a brainless action film.
And you say the exact same thing about 47 Ronin.
Yeah.
If you want to watch people dying and people killing each other and people gutting themselves.
For silly reasons.
Yeah. Lots of honor in both these movies.
Yeah.
And it ultimately just leads to the grave.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah. That's
well put. I like that.
Well, sort of.
Honor will just lead you to the grave.
sort of swipe the sentiment from Gray's elegy in a country churchyard. Dark House.
Decent for a low-budget little film.
Yeah. Yep.
It has big plot holes.
Yep.
But at the same time, it was clever in a number of ways.
And Tobin Bell and his little gang of scrabbling monkey men.
Yeah.
That alone is worth watching this movie, because as crummy as the movie is, when those guys are introduced, I loved it. Okay, so Mark and I both like Dark House. I think we both recommend that, although be warned, it's not a great movie. Just bits of it. And Camp Dread?
You don't have to watch that at all.
Nobody should have to watch that one, sadly.
It was shot at a real summer camp
yeah.
that I guess was closed for the season and whatever.
Yeah.
But made no sense whatsoever.
It's too bad there wasn't a real maniac hanging around who could have finished off the actors and the film crew.
Yeah, no
And then
problem.
we wouldn't have had to watch this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, folks, so we're going to call it quits, and we'll be back next week with a whole slew of other movies that...
you should see.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe you should.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We're forcing ourselves to see it.
Yes, the troubles that we have seen. Nobody knows. Well, yeah, but now they know.